What's going on, everyone? So it is becoming more and more likely that the Los Angeles Lakers are going to get a deal done with the Washington Wizards. We just keep getting reports over and over and over again. And when there's this level of smoke, usually it leads to something. Even Jake Weinbach said that the Lakers and Wizards are expected to engage in consistent trade dialogue over the next couple of weeks, while multiple players and frameworks could be discussed. One developing trade idea would send Malcolm Brogdon and Jonas Valančiūnas to the Lakers. There have also been talks about Kyle Kuzma, and that the Lakers are front runners potentially for Kyle Kuzma. There's a lot of talks about the Lakers, Valančiūnas, and another piece. Kind of seems to be what the growing consensus is. There was even that Clutch Points article that we talked about, where they even said that it's people expect it to get done rather quickly here. That it's probably going to get done, in due time. It's becoming more and more of a when than if. Obviously, things fall through all the time. Right? Deals have gotten done. The Lakers have done several deals in the last few seasons that have fallen through. Some by our own accord, right? Like Genie vetoing trades. So just because it's looking and growing increasingly likely that the Lakers pull off a deal with the Wizards doesn't mean that it will happen. Obviously, nothing is finalized and finished till it's finalized and finished. But Washington and the Lakers do have a good rapport, right? They've made several trades over the last few seasons. None of their guys are going to yield insane return, right? Like Valančiūnas, you're not giving up a first for. Malcolm Brogdon, you're not giving up a first for. Kyle Kuzma, sure, I could see it. Maybe you're getting all three. Can you maybe do something like that? It's not impossible, right? But you're talking like $60 million in salary, something like that, because it's just it's not impossible. My guess is that the Lakers pull off something where it's like, I'm confident it'll be Valančiūnas, right? I think it'll be something like a Valančiūnas and then a Malcolm Brogdon or a Kyle Kuzma. Is it possible to maybe pull off and get both? Sure. Because Malcolm Brogdon's making $22.5 million. Jonas Valančiūnas is actually making technically less than $10 million. Remember, Lakers have to send out more money than they take back. So let's call and say, $10 million. So right there's $32.5 million with just Malcolm Brogdon and Jonas Valančiūnas. Then you get into Kyle Kuzma, and Kyle Kuzma's contract, which declines every year, which is good, right? Every year it drops 2 years, and Malcolm Brogdon's contract is expiring. So that's something to keep in mind. But Kyle Kuzma's making $23.5 million. So you have Kyle Kuzma with his 23.5, it's actually more than 23. It's 23.522. So let's just call it, $24 million, right? So you're talking about having to send out, essentially 50, almost $60 million, because you got to fill out the rest of a roster, right? And D'Lo Rui would get you to $35 million, and then, probably doing a Jared Vanderbilt, that'd get you to $45 million, and then Gabe Vincent, would they take Gabe Vincent? That would get you to $56 million. That would basically get you there. Maybe throw in like a Jalen Hood-Schifino and like a Maxwell Lewis. So it's like, here's two young guys you can kind of work on and figure it out. If you were to, that's assuming you get everything. Again, I don't know how likely that is, but it's possible, right? Maybe the Lakers, I wouldn't give up both firsts for that. Even if you could do that, I wouldn't give up both firsts for that. The problem with Malcolm Brogdon in particular is just the injury issues, right? Like, can he stay healthy on the basketball? Like, can he give you more than 40 games this season, right? Like, I like that he's expiring. So if it works, you have some flexibility there, right? Like, if it works, you can kind of work something out and, sign him to a 3-year deal or something. But my concern is if it doesn't work, then you're in trouble, right? And now you're just looking for him to be an expiring contract. And that's where my dilemma lies, right? So, again, I like Malcolm Brogdon. healthy, he's what the Lakers need. Healthy, he is ideal in that sense of like, okay, you got a sizable guard that can play either guard position, 3-and-D style guard. It's basically like a souped up charged, Gabe Vincent version that when healthy, again, he's great. Guy that can shoot 40% from three. I know he's had his struggles, but usually career-wise, 40% from three-point range, give you some defense, be that point of attack. That ideal. He'd be our, Derek White, Drew Holiday-esque type player. If you can get a Kyle Kuzma, that gives you a legit 6'9", sizable forward that can play either forward spot. Obviously, we know what he brings to the table. The thing about Kuz is he's gotten to, at Washington, figured out how to make plays for himself and kind of get to spots, and he's learned his spot stuff. Because before he went to Washington on the Lakers, he was essentially just a spot-up corner 3-and-D guy, right? Went to Washington, he got to kind of get more into his bag a little bit and develop more. Not great, right? He's not a guy where you're like, oh, he's our number one option offensively. But the fact that he has expanded a little bit in his game, I do think is impactful, is important. He is a guy that can have an impact on the offensive side, particularly that corner three he's really good at. A guy that can operate in the mid-range, knock down the mid-range. He's pushed LeBron. We all remember when he was yelling at LeBron to play defense, right? Like things like that, I think could be impactful, right? My guess is that it's either like a Malcolm Brogdon or a Kyle Kuzma, and then they go grab somebody else, right? Like a Dorian Finney-Smith or something closer to the trade deadline. I think a deal with Washington will get done. Valančiūnas, I'm fairly confident will be a Laker. And look, I've said this dating back to the offseason, right? That like out of all the centers, out of all the options, out of all the most likely trade scenarios, which one do I think is most likely? It's Jonas Valančiūnas. He's the guy that I think is most likely to be a Laker. There's pros and cons with him. Like I said, if we end up trading for any of these guys, I'll break these guys down more in depth and kind of go over like the pros and cons and the goods and bads with them. But till that actually happens, right? Like we'll save it for that. But Valančiūnas gives you what you need. Like people's biggest concerns that I see are like, man, but the Lakers played him off the court twice. Big difference, right? One thing, big difference when you're slotted alongside Anthony Davis as opposed to Zion or Troy Murphy III. And not just that, but the Pelicans needed Valančiūnas to be their starting center, right? They needed him to play, 35 to 40 minutes. Big difference when the Lakers are just asking him to play 15 to 20 minutes. And you're playing against bench units, and and on occasion you're going to have Anthony Davis slotted alongside you, so the defense and the concerns, right? You're not going to be able to just draw Valančiūnas out of the paint and then just go to town and just free range to the rim like the Lakers were, because they're going to run into Anthony Davis. So the Lakers have a guy in AD that the Pelicans just didn't have to mask Valančiūnas' faults. But I also like the idea of just that constant where, when the offense isn't clicking, the Lakers are struggling to hit shots, right? You could dump the ball down to somebody and he could just go to work around the rim, stretch the floor a little bit. He also is a capable passer, right? Like his passing is one of the more underrated values of his game. Ideally, on the surface, right, Malcolm Brogdon, Kyle Kuzma, Jonas Valančiūnas solves all of the Lakers' issues. Point guard, sizable point guard. That gives you 3-and-D. Could slot alongside LeBron James and Anthony Davis. You get a legit 3-and-D wing, right? That can make plays for himself, make a couple plays for others, rebound, all that stuff. And you get a backup center. Perfect. Solve all the Lakers' holes. Again, I don't hate it. It without a doubt would make the Lakers better, right? Like without no questions. Ands, ifs, buts about. Lakers would be much better with Kyle Kuzma, Malcolm Brogdon, and Jonas Valančiūnas. But would I be willing to say that they are a top-tier contender at that point? I would have to see. Because one, can Malcolm Brogdon stay healthy? And two, can Kyle Kuzma slot into the role that we need him to play? Or is he kind of too far gone? And by that, I mean, like, you know, you got a taste of the good life, right? Got a taste of being able to take silly shots and, you know, take 20 attempts and do all this crazy stuff, right? Like, he's what he's been in Washington. The Lakers aren't going to want him or be looking for him to do regularly. There will be on occasions where it's like, hey, Kuz, go attack, be aggressive, get your spots, hit shots, right? I do think that the Lakers he'll get more free range now than he ever got back when he was previously with the Lakers, right? Because the Lakers need him to do more than they did back then. Primarily because LeBron's age and stuff, right? Like, so Kuz is going to get more opportunity in that regard than he's ever gotten, but he's got to watch the lack of inefficiency, right? But his most efficient years were with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Again, big difference when you're playing alongside LeBron and AD and you're playing alongside like Jordan Poole, right? Like, it's not the same. And so to me, Washington solves and fixes everything we need in one place. And like I've talked about, it is easier to just get a deal done at one stop than it is to get a deal done at multiple. It just becomes a little chaotic at that point. And then you get multiple teams that want the same thing, and it's just like, all right, either of them going to make it's just things get a little crazy. If you can just clean swipe, hit up Washington, Malcolm Brogdon, Kyle Kuzma, Jonas Valančiūnas for whatever you got to do. Washington's tanking. They don't care. They have to waive a couple guys. Doesn't mean anything to them. They're just going to want the assets. You know, maybe give up a first in 2 seconds, 3 seconds, maybe something like that. For that, like I said, throw in a Jalen or Trevino, throw in a Maxwell Lewis. There's 2 young players that you can grow and develop, kind of add to what you have. Right, got a point guard, sizable point guard, who's also an expiring contract. You can look to flip D'Lo and all these other guys if you want. Right, like Washington's not going to care. They're going to want the assets, right? They're going to want the assets and get something back for these guys. But I also don't think Washington's going to be in a rush. I'd love to get it. I'd love like today to get the news. We'll see. But Washington is really starting to become the player in this game with the Lakers. Again, I'm just going off of the reports and information that's available. Very likely another team comes out of the woodworks, or maybe Washington and the Lakers aren't able to come to a conclusion in a deal, right? That's always a possibility. But we keep getting reports from different sources, different places, different people that all keep saying the same things, right? That's usually a good sign that something's going to get done. We'll see if it actually does. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you like the idea of Washington Wizards and getting it done? Do you think, like, no, stay away from Washington? Washington isn't the answer. Do you think, like, you know, get a Kuz and a Valančiūnas, get a, Brogdon and a Valančiūnas? Do you think, like, just get Valančiūnas or just get Brogdon or just get Kuz? Do you have concerns about these guys? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are. Either way, I would love to hear it, so please let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. It's me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.